Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, I hope everyone's doing good today. It's a rainy day here in Tennessee. I got to speak like that at times. Please come in and say hello. I hope that everyone's having a great day and is safe. Hey, our bucket list, good to see you, girl. Thanks for coming in. Lots of love. Well, this is an interesting story, and it's not in any of my books. And if you see the cover right here, it's got Unshackled. That book will soon be out. I got to first explain why I left where I was at. Well, I was married, and y'all know about me being mistreated as a kid, but I was also mistreated by my husband. Um, After I divorced, I went back to the doctor's office and got a lot of my medical reports. My boyfriend at that time, we sat down, we started studying the medical reports. He said, "Did you know towards the end of that relationship, every 2 weeks you had a new bone break?" I said, "No, I didn't realize that." I said, "No wonder I was staying in bed too much. No wonder I couldn't get up and take care of myself like I should have been, right?" But know that, some of y'all said, "Why didn't you call the police?" Well, the police were called. Police said he could beat me as long as he don't kill me. So they did nothing. And yes, they had abuse laws then. Um, and the sheriff at the time says if he has to go somewhere over 5 times, one of us is going to be leaving in a body bag. And that's the famous saying that he's got out there. So guess who would have been the one leaving in a body bag? Me. So he said my husband could beat me all he liked as long as he didn't kill me. Okay, so I had a broken collarbone. I had busted lips, black eyes when they came. Nothing was done to give me aid. Nothing was done to him. So then when the church found out about it, of course, they said, "Well, you ought to let him go ahead and kill you because that's your only way to heaven." I'm like, "Do what? Does that sound Christian to you?" So I couldn't even fall back on the Christians at certain churches. So it's like really feeling all alone there. And so I was in an online support group for the association. And of course, there was a lot we shared in there. Some people shared something they wrote. And then I shared something I wrote that's in my book called Regina's Triumph. Needless to say, there were some people in there, and I knew a person by the name of Rachel, which I assumed was a woman. And so we became good friends. A lot of us did. And she goes, "I'll save you, I'll come and get you. And I was thinking, I really wanted to be somewhere with somebody I knew. But then if I did go somewhere close, then they could easily say, "Oh, she's psychological," and try to force me into an institution or something, say she's crazy, that don't believe her stories, all that kind of stuff. And I said, "Well, if I went all the way upstate New York, I don't think they'll bother with trying to bring me back down." But I do remember calling my ex-husband went ahead and got a life insurance policy, and it was going to be doubled if something happened to me. All of a sudden, after that, after I would leave my mother-in-law's house when he was there, I was going to go check on a lady friend of mine that's had diabetes real bad, and she had a lot of heart surgeries and stuff. I'll go and check on her and do some things around the house for her. Um, Needless to say, right after I left, there would be a vehicle waiting at the end of a driveway for me to pass. Then the chase would give way. So this person in that vehicle kept trying to cause me to wreck. So somebody had to tip him off and say, "Hey, she's leaving here." You know what I'm saying? It can't be coincidental that that guy would know that I'll be going, right? Because usually I would go from mother-in-law's to go the other way around. So it's kind of weird. So I called the police back when my husband said he was going to kill me. And they already had, I thought with them having the pre-prior or with him hurting me, that they would do something about it. And they said, no, we can do nothing until he does actually kill you. And I thought, what? And then I bet y'all would let him get away with the murder too. That's what I was thinking, you know. I'd be one of them cases where just get away with it. So I didn't feel safe at all where I was at. I didn't feel protected by the law enforcement. And matter of fact, after the divorce, when I went back from New York and for the divorce thing, a police officer tried to give me a lot of records and said, "Sorry, we failed you." He said, "You ought to sue the city and everything." And I said, "But it's a little over with. I lost everything." And he said, "But you ought to keep these records." And I wish that's one mistake I did. I did not get those records from him. I regret that now, you know. And he said, we even got records when we were called when a neighbor seen 5 adults beating you. So somebody called and said, "Let's go help this lady. 5 adults are beating her." They did nothing. They did nothing to help. So excuse me, a lot of y'all that said I would have called the police. You know how many times the police called and they did nothing? There's a whole line of thick pages, over 100 in the file, okay? So different people tried to reach out. Different people tried to care. And I didn't even know it till it's late. You know what I mean? And that couple that lived in that house ended up moving because I guess they felt like they wasn't safe in there either. They're going to be calling and they wouldn't even protect a woman being beat right there. They did nothing. They just let it happen. So yeah, after I had called the police and they said, well, they'll wait till he does something. And then the next day, one of the officers showed back up. This was from Limestone County in Alabama. I will say that. And the guy showed up from the sheriff's office and he goes, "I want to tell you something. If you leave, you better not take your kids with you." And there's never been a custody type of thing. So I had every right if I left to take my kids. But he said, "We'll hunt you down. We'll do this. We'll make sure. We'll arrest you if you take your kids. We would charge you with kidnapping." And I thought, do what? There ain't never been no. And then I thought, yeah, the way they are, crooked and everything, they'll invent something and they'll do something. So unfortunately, I had to leave my kids behind. It was funny when I did sit my kids down and I did explain to them what was going to happen. I didn't want them to tell their dad. It hurt so bad to leave my kids behind. So that's why I chose to go ahead and I had the opportunity. Well, when Bill showed up, it happened to be who the person really was, but he had legally changed his name to a girl's name. And that's why he went by Rachel. He decided he wanted to go and become a male again. By then, he already had, this was in 1999, so yeah, they already had where people could go boobs and stuff like that and get this. So he would never be an adequate male in that way, if you know what I'm talking about. So it ruined his thing. So y'all beware. It was kind of funny that morning when I left, my husband's aunt showed up at the house. She said, I just knew you were leaving. She gave me a big hug and she said, Girl, I always love you. I wish I could do something, I wish my place was bigger. I'd be glad to take you. I said, Yeah, but it'd be too close, right? I said, I don't want you to have other conflicts with the family. And I called her mom and she called me daughter, like normal. Me and her was real close. She had been abused as well from her last spouse, from first spouse, sorry. The guy she was with now, before at this particular said time, he was really good to her. Had a really good relationship. So she was there for me, and we hugged, and I was so glad I got to say my goodbyes to my mom. I'm calling her mom, okay? So we went ahead, and I took some things with me, of course, because I didn't have to get on a bus. So in the vehicles, so he decided we'll go through Ohio. And just the reason why we took the long trek is he wanted to stop by Kent State. And how many of y'all know about Kent State? Kent State years ago had shootings at the college. He said that police and all that were shooting people. I didn't know much of the story because my story was like there just survival. I was bedridden a lot of the days because of being beat, okay? And so I didn't get to go in there and watch much TV or listen much TV at the time. So y'all, please don't knock it and tell everybody, I would have called the police. I would have hit him with a hammer. And guess what? If I would have did that, guess what? It would end up possibly put me in jail for protecting myself, right? Hi there. How you doing, Darlene? I'm trying to. Okay, there we go. How you doing there? Good to see you, girl. So if I had done all this, and hit him, guess what? They probably would have arrested me because he was kin to some of the people that was in the government over there in the local. So that's why he was getting away with a lot of things. So then so our first stop basically was Kent State. So I sat apart on a different bench, gave him the privacy, without asking any questions, where he could sit right there and be silent. That's what he wanted. He wanted silence so he could pay respect to all the people that lost their life at Kent State. Really don't know that much about it, but it really affected me when I thought maybe he told me some of it later on or something, but it's I just can't remember. There's so much that's happened. So we kept driving after we left there. We stayed there about an hour or 2 hours. And we stopped somewhere in Ohio. We got a hotel and we spent the night there. And then we went on our next stop. Of course, we stopped and get gas in between, whatever. But we stopped in Pennsylvania. They had some neat little shops there. And I was all in love with a wind chime. It had hummingbirds all over it. So he bought that for me. And I said, what can I buy for you? He said, I would like toys. The inner child, I want to do like build something or whatever. And so I got him a set of building blocks, like tacos or whatever, Legos. So I got that for him. So when I got up to his place in Clinton, New York, it seemed like it's a little bit more of a ritzy town. And the apartment was partly above a shoe store and partly above a Chinese restaurant. And I never wanted to, I thought, well, I could go at the Chinese restaurant and get, I was interested. I never I had heard of the good luck things that they have. It tells your fortune cookies. And I like, to get some fortune cookies. It's like $1 a piece every time I went. And I just, laugh about it. Um, I cannot have Chinese a lot that's got the MSG in it, and I'm allergic to MSG. But sometimes we would get out, go out of his window, and then we'll walk on the roof, and then look at the overhang, and then there's garbage, big old garbage bins, and I'd stop looking like that when I would see carcasses of dogs back there behind the restaurant. They were skinned and all that. I'm sorry, being graphic. So I would never eat at a Chinese restaurant again because of that. Okay, um, even the egg bouillon soup, egg drop soup. Sorry. Um, so then I stayed there pretty good. Much I didn't know that he was an alcoholic. So we would go around, and one thing I was really disappointed in upstate New York was that they did not serve any sweet tea. I would ask restaurants, "Do you have any sweet tea, any iced tea?" They said, "What's that?" I said, "Really, sweet tea, iced tea? You don't know what that is?" So I would go to the grocery store, get me some Tetley or Lipton tea, and I'd go home and make me some. And he had a big family. I think that they were Italian, and so I got to go there, and we had big dinners. And she actually served iced tea, and I said, "So you know what iced tea is?" They said, "Yes, ma'am. We can't have a dinner without it." And I'm like, "Whoa!" I finally felt like I belonged somewhere, and that family when they brought that iced tea out. I know we can laugh about the things now. I was pleasantly surprised. Everybody said in Alabama, it said, "Well, you don't want to go to upstate New York. They'll treat you so bad. Don't do it. You don't want to ever do that." And they told me, "You were crazy." I said, people in Alabama, I would walk on the side of the road, and if I was broke down, they didn't stop and help me. I said, when I walked, "Hey there, good to see you, Jackie." And so when I walked on the sidewalk and my balance was off because, the injuries, the head injuries, okay. So my balance would get off a little bit. And I go to the side a little bit. People say, "Are you okay, ma'am? Are you okay?" I'm like, wow, the Southern hospitality is actually up north. These people in Alabama don't ask me how I'm doing. They look at me like, "You fool, right?" Like, "You must be drunk or something like that." No, I was having issues with health issues due to the injuries, okay? But no matter where I went, and then they go, "Oh, we love a Southern accent, love your accent." And I'm like, wow, they actually like me here. They're actually treating me good. So it was a shell shock. I had heard that upstate New York was horrible. The whole state of New York was horrible. I was pleasantly surprised it was not horrible. People bent over backwards to try to help. That was, that's good to know, ain't it, y'all? People bent over backwards. In my own city and state, they were not helping me, okay? In my own city, they just turned a blind eye. As the elder said, it's best to let my husband kill me. It's my only way that I go to heaven. I mean, nobody cared. Well, I did have a couple friends, don't get me wrong. Some of my friends cared, but a lot of people, I guess they didn't really know the heck I was going through. And they might have stepped up to help. Yes, very pleasant, when the people were like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And I was even shocked because I had heard it's really cold in New York. But it's something that's another oxymoron. I just had on a light jacket. Or sometimes I wore short sleeves. It's a different kind of temperature feeling versus Alabama. And while I was living in upstate New York, we didn't have snow at all. That was shocking, right? But then I called down to check on my kids, and they had like 8 to 10 inches of snow. And I laughed. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but laugh. So they ended up snowed where my husband was and kids. and it wasn't snowing in upstate New York. I was like, whoa. And a lot of times they got the lake effect snow in upstate New York. But it didn't happen while I was there. Thank God. I would have probably froze to death, but I'm sure they would have gave me a jacket. Another difference that it was like the businesses, they had the doors locked. So if you wanted to go into a business, you knocked on the door, and if they thought that you seemed okay, then they'll let you in. If they thought you were rough rap or something like that, they'll say no, no entry. No entrance. But I was shocked that they kept letting me in. I was so afraid. I thought I was going to be rejected, but it turned out I was not rejected. Y'all know how awesome a feeling it was when you go in and you're from the southern states and so many people are rejecting you. They're putting you down. They're all this other kind of stuff. Now, I got some high school friends, and I'm sure if they would have known, they would have stood up and said, hey, let's be friends. Let's whatever. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people just did not know. People are told that I'm a god awful person. People are told that, she left her abusive husband. She left her husband. Well, yeah, I'm going to tell y'all something. When he told me he ruined a relationship soon after we were married by telling me that, hey, the first time I had sex with somebody, it wasn't with you. I lied to you. And I thought, okay, you were 21. I was 18. So I was like, okay. And I said, well, I know you dated this other girl before me. It was with her. Put in mind, this might be a trigger warning to some. This may be effective so y'all could understand more about the relationship hobnob of what I had to deal with. And yet I was the one that was ostracized. I was the one that was told I was bad, right? So anyway, he said no. He said when he went to church and he was 10-year old and it went on for 2 years, every weekend for 2 years, him and 5 guys from church got together. All 5 of them would do each other till all were done. It was more than an experimentation, y'all. So how many weeks are in a year? I think it's like 52 or so, such as that, right? So over 150 times that he done these sexual acts, the boys done each other, okay? You know how that turned me off? All of a sudden, like I backed away and do what? He was willingly doing this with close friends from church. And I had a problem with that. I don't know if y'all would have had a problem with that if y'all would have heard that too. So I backed away, but then I thought, I got to make the marriage work. So I tried grin and bear it. But I noticed every time when we went to church and he got around certain guys, you can't help but notice when a guy gets excited around somebody or something, right? You can't help but notice, okay? He did that when he got around these guys again. All right. Oh, shoot. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be more graphic than that. So basically, he would tell me he really wanted to marry this girl that supposedly was his cousin. Or he wanted to, and then he would go fishing and I'll tell y'all about this besides the hitting and all that, okay? He would go fishing, and then one time he brought back, I found a girl's swimming trunks. A swimming bathing suit bottom part. And I looked at it real good, and I went to see if there's any hook marks, right? Your fishing hook. There was nothing. No, it's impossible. So this person had to willingly take off their panties, right? For him. And he said, well, I could go and get the top part to show you that I know where it's at. It's stuck on a tree, and the branches in the middle of the water. And he did come back. He came back with it. And I looked again to see if there's any tears, any snags. It would show up on that kind of fabric. I'm smarter than that because I know because I did it too many times. And I said, really, if there is bathing suit that's in the middle of the water around these twigs and stuff like this and branches. I said, don't you think you need to call the law enforcement because there could be a body? There could be a body down there. Why don't you call the law enforcement, right? So that was my, and he would not even let my son go fishing with him during those times either. So that was something that was too. But I was a bad person. Um, I was ostracized when I moved to different areas and told that, well, we're not going to allow you go to church unless you got your kids with you because you're such an immoral person. We heard from other churches. So yes, I was ostracized. So anyway, in upstate New York, um, like I said, I was very surprised. And then what changed was there was a group of ladies from a church. Like there's two or three, and the lady said, "Well, you know, you shouldn't be living here with a guy, right?" So I said, "Well, I don't really have any other place to live. I'm trying to wait till my check to figure out what I'm going to do, you know." She goes, "Well, I got room, you know. I live in Rome, New York. I got room." I said, "But everything's going okay here, and I don't really know you." She said, "I'll be able to help you. I'll be able to help take you to such and such and such and such." I thought, okay, you know, maybe she's right. So I went ahead and moved out. I tried to get my wind wind chimes, and he said, "No, I bought them. And since you're leaving, you can't have them." I said, "Well, I bought you the building blocks. Let me take the building blocks." He said, "No, you bought them for me." So it's kind of oxymoron there, right? So go ahead, but we still remain friends, even though, you know, moved away. And I lived upstairs. She had a young son. But if I went downstairs and she was talking to her friends, or she had friends over and everything, she would introduce me. I tell them hi. But then she would say, well, you know, they're my friends. You know, you cannot be friends with friends. They're my friends. You can't be their friends too. So don't be talking to my friends. And I thought, do what? Wow, this is kind of different. So I'm not allowed to talk to nobody. It's kind of weird. um, and now she was going around places, and there wasn't no help. Hi there, Chris. Good to see you. And it was kind of unique. So there's going to be some funny things in this too, a little bit. Okay. Well, I went to church with her a little bit, but she looked at me bad, like, "Now, don't you be talking to nobody, right? They're my friends. Don't you be talking." So I just shake my head, yes, right, like hi, you know, greeting made it look like I was shy or something. So I got tired of living there and being not really being taken, like she said that she would take me around where I'd try to find me a place, whatever, you know, that never happened. Um, so I didn't understand what I was really doing there. And in Rome, New York, I was shocked to see it was not really all that far from Woodstock. Y'all know Woodstock, right? Like that's where they had their festival years ago, many years ago, and they said that they was about to do a new festival. It's going to be the first time that they've done since the other while I was there. Well, I all of a sudden I got a wild hair, and I went ahead and while they were gone, I said, "Well, I'm going to go back to Utica." I know in Utica they had a help place, you know, which I had went over there before. But I didn't know though before I left that they wouldn't be that they'd be closed. But anyway, I went ahead and got a few of my items, left the rest up there, um, and I went to the bus station. So when we're on the bus driver says, "The next stop, Attica, Attica Prison, next stop." all of a sudden I thought, oh boy, this. I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but okay. And he was looking at me and smiling. It's almost like he could read my mind, right? So all of a sudden, I was at the very back of the bus and I was going, Attica. Started hitting the back of the seat, in front of me. There was nobody sitting there. And then he started hitting the steering wheel, Attica. We all started going, Attica, Attica, Attica. So anyway, we was getting closer, and he goes, we better die down. We're almost at the prison, and we don't need another uprising over there. So that was pretty unique. What y'all think about that? That's pretty funny, wasn't it? So when after we picked up the people that were visiting the prisoners at Attica, uh, prisoners, ones that were visiting prisoners, sorry, and then we went to Utica. Okay, where the bus stop was at, I knew nothing about how to get to where I needed to go from there. And y'all, this had to be the good Lord watching out for me because I didn't know what to do because this was when you got a blue bandana and a gang. Which gang is that? Do y'all know the difference between the two? Do y'all know the difference between the two? When you got a blue bandana, and then if you got a red bandana, which gang? So anyway, I said, I need to figure out how to get to such and such. And that guy said, I can show you. And I'm thinking, Lord, I'm dependent on you. Please get me safe. So I was at his mercy to get to where I needed to go. So I followed him through all these different alleys in Utica, New York. Followed him all around and past some of these broken down cars, different areas. And I'm like, Lord, but I'm putting my faith in you. I wasn't really nervous at that time. I had little things that he could do, in my mind, but like, I'm going to have faith in God. I'm not going to fret. I'm not going to fear. I'm going to believe that this guy is going to take me over there to there, right? So we get there, and there's a bar right beside that place, but it's a part of that organization, but that organization was closed. But this bar is for people to help them get not to drink, okay? So this bar had sodas, okay? This bar had people could play pool and stuff like that. So it was a safe place, okay? So I got around there maybe about an hour, and he goes, well, we're fixing to close. You only know because of in the movies. Which one is the ones with the black, blue bandanas? Do you know? Can y'all tell me which one it is? But he said, we're getting ready to close. You got to figure out what y'all going to do. And I thought, okay. And he saw that gang member waiting outside for me. He said, ma'am, you don't need to go out there. I'm going to call you a cab, and I'm going to get you to the abused women's shelter. I said, sir, there's going to be a problem with that, right? Yeah, you only know about the red and blue. That's like me, too. I only know about the... And he goes, you don't want to go out there because they'll probably, a doctor will try to get me to be any... Well, I agreed with him on that, but I also said, well, you can't take me to an abused women's shelter. You got to do the proper avenues, like basically you go to the hospital first and then they call the police or something like that. Then the police will take me over there to abuse shelter. Okay. You do not just show up at a cab at the abuse women's shelter. But he did. He said, it's okay here in New York. And I'm like, okay. So I go there and she goes, well, we'll let you go ahead and stay the night, but you can't stay since you came right over here and didn't do the right avenue. You're going to have to leave in the morning. And, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I got to wait up for these other women that's here because you might be a murderer. So I got to stay up all night and make sure you don't murder all these people here. I thought, oh, geez, okay. Lord, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I grabbed my purse and I started to leave. No, 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 no. You can spend the night. You can spend the night. So I basically was homeless. So I basically grabbed my purse, left. But before I left, I said, well, I don't want you to lose any sleep because I don't want you to think that I'm going to be in there murdering anybody. So you have a good day, ma'am. Get your sleep and everything. Know that everybody is safe. And so I just walked out. If that's not having faith in God about doing something, I don't know what is, right? So I said, okay, Lord, lead me in the direction of where there's a fire department or something, right? And I just kept walking and walking. Then I walked upon it. There was two guys around midnight washing the fire truck. And I thought, yeah, Lord, I asked you, and there it is. Two guys right here in the fire truck, And it wasn't closed, and it happened to be people out there. So I thought that was real cool. So I told them what had happened. They said, we could have told you that you couldn't go over there in the abuse shelter without, going through the proper avenues. I said, I know it. I said, I told the cab driver that, but he said, no, he could go ahead. So they said, we're going to call you a cab, and the next step is really taking you to the hospital because before you could go into any abuse shelter or something like that, you have to have an evaluation. I said, yes, sir. So we go ahead, and the cab driver comes pick me up. It's the same one that dropped me off. I said, I told you that they would not, you can't go that way. He said, I know it, but the guy inside that thing had paid me to take you there. I said, yeah, but now I cannot, even if I would be approved for an abused women's shelter, I couldn't go back to that shelter because of that happening. Okay? It's what I was told by that lady when I was leaving. I was like, okay. So next stop was a hospital. And it's totally different than Alabama, okay? Totally different. I'm used to different rooms when people go into hospital. I'm not used to being separated by, there's about 10 different curtains right there, and it's all in a circular type of mode. And they go ahead and take all your clothes off, everything, even your undies. They don't give you a robe in case you might strangle yourself, okay? So there you're being watched. I thought they didn't give me a sheet or nothing either. I was cold. But anyway, the lady would leave, and she's supposed to stay at the door to watch everybody. But all of a sudden, when nobody was right there, I heard a voice go, I'm going to kill all of y'all. Every one of y'all. I got to die. And I thought, oh, crap. And I couldn't see the person, okay? There's these curtains, okay? I couldn't see whether she was chained. I don't know, right? I could hear somebody like, dang, I just escaped Alabama because somebody trying to kill me. And now this person, and I jumped up out of the bed and I just stood there. And the lady come back, you need to get back in the bed, Miss Thomas. Miss Clark, you need to get back in the bed. I thought, okay. But I said, she's threatening to kill us. She can't harm nobody. Like, how do I know? I can't see. Is she chained? Is she strapped or what? You know what I mean? And then I got back in the bed and everything. And then then when I walked away again, yeah, every one of y'all are going to die. Every one of y'all going to die. She said, and I jumped back up, okay? Of course, the protective mode in me, right? And so I jumped back up, and she said, Miss, you need to get back and lay down. It's okay. I said, she sounds gruff. She said, yeah, she tried to cut her voice box out. So that's why she sounded rough, that she actually used something to try to cut out her voice. And I was like, Lord, she is violent. Please go with her, trying to silence her voice. How do we know, when you think about it right now, how do we know that it was actually her or somebody getting her to do that, right? But it sounded really demonic. And no matter how many times they're going to tell me that, oh, you're safe, if I cannot see the danger and all I hear is the danger, I'm going to be ready to fight. Okay. I'm going to be ready to run. I'm going to be ready to get out of there. Oh, this is a new setting. And so it was pretty scary. And then they said, we're going to admit you in the hospital. You act too nervous. And I was thinking, too nervous? I'm getting threats. Everybody's getting threats. How can I be assured that I'm really safe? I have to see the safety to know that, my safety was supposed to be in that home with my husband, right? My safety is supposed to be these police officers that's supposed to serve and protect the people, right? How can you tell me that I'm safe right now hearing these threats? What y'all take on that? Would y'all felt the same way too if y'all were hearing somebody saying, "Well, I'm going to get y'all. I'm going to kill all of y'all. All of y'all going to be dead"? You think you're going to want to sit there in your bed and just sit there? I don't think so, Tim. I don't think so, Tim. I done fled and left Alabama, because of the threat. And now I'm here in upstate New York, and that threat's there. So then from there, that lady did show up. She dropped off some of my belongings, and they put them in a little room. So when I got ready to leave, there was a giant picture of me that somebody in the hospital stole. It was a chalk drawing. I paid this lady to draw me from one of my pictures, and so with somebody in the hospital, one of the staff had to steal it. They're the only ones that could have. But it was a professional drawing, so they might have made some money out of it. No telling, huh? So anyway, then I was sent to a community center after I was there for several weeks. And it's kind of weird when you're in emotional, and any of them that I went just because I couldn't sleep. I was being abused, had to get away from my husband, and so I would go in the hospital, try to get away and rest. But up here, upstate New York, it was the men and women were in there together, and these guys would say, "Hey, let's go in the bedroom. We got these guys right here that watch and stuff like this. We could go ahead and push the bed against the thing, and we could have our fun." I'm like, no. So it was really unique hearing that kind of thing too. But then I ended up going to the community center, and I lived upstairs with a lady who lived in the apartment before me. This was going to be temporary until I found my housing, okay? Well, she was a prostitute. So there would be people that would throw rocks up there and try to get my attention, thinking it was her. Hey there, Steve. Good to see you. Trying to get my attention and open the door. Let us in. We want, and I'm like, I got scared. And at the time, I did not have a telephone. And somebody came to my aid, a neighbor. And he said, the lady that used to live there was a prostitute. He said, I got a couch you can sleep in. And so I would go sleep on that couch, because I didn't feel safe over there. Because them guys just kept throwing rocks up there. And then I found out the date for my hearing in Alabama for the divorce. And so I ended up calling, that person. I was able to contact him. I don't know whose phone I used or where it was, because we might have had one that we mainly could use, but I don't think I had one at the time. But anyway, he came and got me, and he took me to the bus station, and Oh man, and the ride, and just know too that we actually went gambling. My first time ever went gambling, okay? And so he went ahead and put $10 on the card for me, and within $2 or $3, I won $50. I said, "I'm ready to go. I'm clocking out right now. I'm taking my money right here. I got $50." And these other people said, "I wish I was strong like you, but." I said, "Well, you need to cash out right now." They said, "I want $500." I said, cash it out right now. Don't lose it, don't lose it. They ended up coming to me later, said, "I didn't listen to you. I lost the $500. I lost everything I came here to try to do." I said, they said, "You're smart." I said, "Well, when you got $10 and you spend $2 or $3 and you end up with $50, yeah, yeah, that's a win, right?" So I took the money and said, "No, you know." But anyway, yeah, I did go gambling while I was there, and I knew when to stop. I could see how it could have easily became a habit, you know. And so anyway, I got on the bus to come back to Alabama for the hearing. My husband was supposed to leave my car at a just a drop off point for a bus station, even though they didn't have a bus station there. That's a drop off point. So I did not know where I was going to go after I got there. I thought, well, I would have every right to go back to my place because my name was still on the thing, right? So I went back and I said, "Would I be able to stay the night?" And he said, "No, not even the night." So, but anyway, we stopped in Cincinnati and we stopped in Cleveland, Ohio for bus. One of them was for a bus switch, and another time it's supposed to be the rest of the way back to Alabama on the same bus. Okay, but then he told us, "Everybody get off the bus." He went ahead and changed the deal. And he said, "Everybody off the bus. I'm taking people back to New York." And I thought, wow, what are we going to do? Because this was our final bus for all of us. Uh, and so we all, when the next bus came up, he said, "No, y'all got to just have to stay here. Y'all don't have that on the ticket, so you can't get on my bus." I was a leader of the pack, okay? I was the very front one, and I started storming up to the register, and I said, "But I got to get home. I got to be in court, da-da-da-da-da," right? I got to, I got to get home. I got to. And boy, when he saw me mad and red face, and everybody said, "Follow her," and I like, "Oh man, I'm the leader of this." And so he said, "You let everybody on that thing. You let everybody on your bus." So that's how I ended up on that other bus. But and then we stopped in, the, like I said, one was Cleveland and one was in Cincinnati. So there was one. So one of the stops they locked the bus station down because there was a runaway. But I looked at them and I said, "What are y'all doing by locking it down?" They said, "There's a runaway." I said, "But she just walked out the door before y'all locked the door." I said, "I seen her. She went out that door, the runaway." They said, "We got to check the whole bus station." I said, "But I seen her leave." You know. So then after the fact, they come and said, "What did you see?" And I said, "Well, she's long gone by now. Y'all looked over the whole bus station. I tried to tell y'all. There she was. She got out the door before y'all." They said, "Oh, evidently you were right." I said, "Evidently." So, then they come to me wanting to know the facts about it. And I'm like, "That's a little too late. Y'all could have got her, when I told y'all, right?" So let's hope and pray that nothing bad had happened to her, right? That she had got taken back okay. So when I got dropped off, it was just like on a quarter stop, and my car was there. I think he did have it filled up with gas. Not sure what I did that night. I might have ended up going ahead and driving all the way to Marshall County in Alabama to uh, the hospital because we no well depending on how many days it was before the case, right? So anyway, I had told them that I needed a place to stay. I've been abused and stuff like that, and I think that they went ahead and let me go to the abused women's shelter. I was allowed to go to the court hearing the next day. So I actually had a place to stay temporarily until I could get my bearings and get to. Then there was community action and stuff. But I want to tell y'all, don't judge. You know, y'all think I'll never go to upstate New York. I'll never go such and such. Like I'm thinking I'll never go to California because of a lot of things, you know. But don't knock. You know, like I really thought New York was going to be horrible, you know, but people were nice. They tried to help, you know. So the very first place I moved to was Clinton. It was ritzy. The park area was beautiful. It was immaculate. So the park in the middle, you know, so I lived off the, on a square, okay? And it was so beautiful where you could go for walks and stuff. That's like it was a dream, okay? They kept it really beautiful there. So y'all don't knock it because there's some people out there you never know who cares. So you cannot judge what everything you hear on the news and say, well, this town, that town, that town. Well, true that, but I was told that the whole state of New York was bad, okay? But you can't judge it by that, okay? I learned that quickly. These other people said, you know, they even told me, I hope you come back and you sing karaoke over here. But I never did go back. They wanted to hear me sing because country, they want to hear my country wang. But I never got the opportunity to go back and do that. It was real interesting. But just thought I'd let y'all know that there's a lot more to my story that's not in my books. And if you see on the cover of this is going to be my new book that's coming out. They told me that I was 10th in the queue in their line of books that they're putting out, you know, and that was yesterday. So I don't know what number I am now, but I'm sure that they'll call me because they'll probably need my number when they're at Amazon, a certain OTP, OTP code to put it out there. I want y'all to be hyper vigilant. I want y'all to protect others, to be able to uh, know not to judge because even though I got judged throughout my churches and everything, I just tried to be okay. I just wanted to survive. I didn't want to chaos. I wouldn't have had to move had the law enforcement done their job, had the legal people done their job, and they did right. That they served and protected, done all that, got on him, treated him for abusing me and all that. Everything would have been fine, right? But see, the legal system did not work for me. The legal system did not work for me at all. They did not serve and protect me. They serve and protect the abuser. Just like that Alabama state trooper. They protected him. So y'all be careful out there. And a lot of people say call the police. A lot of times I don't call the police. I'm sorry, I don't trust the police. But then you learn. I think I'll be more apt to call the sheriff. I told him I trust him, but I live in the city. But I'm more apt to trust him and call him, but because I trust him, you know, he's got my book and he supports me. He's got my Born to Live in Hell 2.0. Y'all might see that a lot of people's buying my Shattered Innocence, and nobody's hardly getting the Born to Live in Hell. And there's more to the Born to Live in Hell than there was a Shattered Innocence. And now you're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. So no matter where you go, please don't judge. Judge not, lest you be not judged. With what measure ye judge will be judged thee. And know that there are people all around the world that genuinely care. And I didn't find that out until I was in that predicament, right? I did not find out until I was up there and these people were, are you okay, ma'am? Making sure that I didn't fall. They knew it wasn't drunk. They knew that. They could tell. These people seem genuinely caring. So I want to thank you all. And I hope y'all laughed about the Attica stuff. There's some uh, humor stuff right there, right? I'd say God bless y'all. Oh, and in case y'all wonder what the judge said, my medical records and my police reports on abuse were inadmissible as evidence. So he was striking my evidence of my husband harming me. So guess what? My ex-husband wanted the kids, he wanted the house, he wanted it all. So that's how that turned out. Okay. I want to thank you all and God bless you.